G17 says, Scotty, I saw your video on the Volkswagen Atlas you were trying out. Well, let me tell you my Volkswagen Atlas story. I've had numerous things fixed under warranty, and then last week my engine blew up and stopped running. So I really don't think these are very good cars. I just want to let you know, get some feedback from somebody who owns one. Well, gee, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it when you guys watch my videos, especially when they're on new vehicles like that. Give me all the feedback you possibly can. Yours is 2 years old, the engine blew up. Hey, that just says the quality is not there. Now, I didn't say it was a horrible vehicle. I didn't say it was a great vehicle. It seemed to be a decent vehicle. Well, if you had something like that 2 years later, the engine blows up, well, so much for that. But, like I say, everybody out there, you got cars, you got problems, email them to me. Tell me about them, because I always want to keep my finger on the button, on the pulse of which cars are good, which cars are bad. And the only way I can get the really good feedback from volumes of people, by the billion people that are watching my videos, giving me their feedback. I love feedback, especially when things break too early. Always send me that kind of information. I want to know when the dealer screws you over and doesn't fix something right. I mean, just the other day, I helped a guy out, took his car to the dealer, they didn't fix it right, and then he came to me, I made a video out of it, and then they ended up giving him his money back. So, you know, I like to know these things. Give me the information. Something's bad, tell me about it. I want to know when people are making mistakes, when they build them wrong, when they don't fix them right, when they don't stand behind their own stuff, so then I can tell everybody else. So the whole world can find out that, oh, well, this is made like crap, don't buy it. Or these dealerships, hey, they're not doing us a good deal, so don't go to them. But the only way you can do is by sharing information, which is why the internet's so great. Well, here's an interesting fact that the British have found out. It turns out that your car's touchscreen can be 3 times dirtier than a toilet. Now, this is a British story, so maybe the British are dirtier than we Americans. I really don't know. But it turns out that one of the dirtiest parts of your car is the touchscreen, especially if you eat in your car and then mess with the touchscreen. There is a company called Compare the Market. It's an insurance comparison website, and they decided to study 10 different vehicles and swabbing the touchscreens to see what kind of dirt was on. Swabbed all kinds of stuff, the shifter, the steering wheel, the seat belt, the touch screens, the rear view mirror, and they also swabbed a toilet seat in an office building to compare. And it turns out the dirtiest area was the touchscreen. Guess what? Because you're always touching it. And in the studies that they did, it turns out that the touchscreen was 3 times dirtier than an office toilet seat. Perhaps it was a clean office. And interesting enough, it also showed that a family's car interior could be twice as dirty as a work van in the ones that they compared. So it might be safer to be eating in your old F-150 than it would be to be eating in a new Lexus with 2 car seats. If you really want to clean your car, pay special attention to the touchscreen, because that's the dirtiest part of your car. I'm sure a lot of people never even think about cleaning it. If it's that many times dirtier than a toilet seat, maybe you shouldn't be touching it that much. Well, with all this coronavirus going on, you better be careful where you drive and what you're driving. For the first time ever, an American has been arrested in Canada for violating their quarantine law. A man from Kentucky was arrested in Banff, all those beautiful scenery of the Rockies and stuff there, for driving around in Canada. Well, he drove in the wrong place with the wrong vehicle. He didn't act very smart because he was in a car with Ohio license plates. Must have been a rental car, right? He's from Kentucky. He's got Ohio plates. He's driving around in Canada. Well, Americans aren't supposed to be crossing the border, right? He was dumb enough to do it with Ohio license plates. Now, if he would have simply gone to Canada and rented a car with Canadian license plates, no one would have known in Banff. And somebody squealed on him. I guess there's Canadian Nazis out there too. They're going to squeal on people. And he was actually arrested. And strangely enough, he faces fines of $750,000. Well, at least that's in Canadian dollars, because that's only $569,000 in American money. It's showing you that today, with this pandemic, you better be careful where you drive and what you're driving. You're going to some state, hey, rent a car there and ask them for a local license plate on it. And then people will probably leave you alone. It's going to be like the Middle Ages, like you go from one village to the other and you're not one of their villages and they're going to stone you or something. At least he's the first American to be arrested for this. All this time, only one guy. How'd you like to be that dumb guy? The one dumb guy who was actually arrested. Maybe they should add a fine for stupidity on top of it. Manjock6 says, I got an '07 Chevy Uplander with the remote start built in. I reprogrammed key fobs with the remote start button, but when I try to remote start, it says remote start disabled. So I found out it must be enabled by special programming, but I need an authorization code, and the only way you can get that is to buy a remote start kit from GM, 2 key fobs and a hood latch sensor in the code. So I contacted them and they said, we don't sell any kit anymore, it's discontinued. What can I do? I don't want an aftermarket one. Well, you know, you're kind of screwed there, which is typical with GM. They're not even, helping their customers out. We don't make it anymore, go away. It's too old, If you remember a video I made a while back, there is no law that says they have to make anything for any period of time. The only law is that they have to have parts available for the car while it's still under warranty. They don't even have to make them themselves. They can buy them from someone else. So they don't have to make any parts. There's no law in the United States that they have to make any parts, and GM follows that letter to the law. Now, let's say that was a Toyota or Honda. You go to the dealer, they'd still have it because they care about their customers, and they last so long, there's always people making stuff for them. But you're kind of screwed there. I mean, try eBay, start asking some good locksmiths that handle stuff like that. Maybe they know a way to bypass it. Codes themselves, and they redo keys and stuff all the time. Maybe they can figure out a way to do it. But, the best, smartest way is to just never buy a GM product. They don't make them that well, and as you can see, they don't stand behind them over time. So tell them to take a hike and never buy another one of their stinking vehicles. If they don't even care about the people who are buying the cars, don't care about buying another one from them. You'd be better off anyway. Am Julia says, Scotty, our 2005 Mazda Tribute Ford Escape a good car to buy? All right, not really at that age. They're 16 years old. And see, back then, Mazda and Ford had a relationship going. And it didn't work out that well. It doesn't exist anymore. But I've had customers with the Mazdas that had the Ford variable valve timing setups. I mean, when they broke and you took them apart, you'd see they'd say Motorcraft on them. They weren't very good. Take the last 5-6 years or more of Mazda. They've had a relationship going with Toyota. Now, the Mazda engines are much better. Their transmissions are much better. I have customers buying late model Mazdas. They seem to be really good vehicles. The ones that are 5-6 years old, they're not having the problems that the ones did 10-15 years ago when they had relationship with Ford. That old thing, now, it's old as the hills. Let's say it runs really good now. If you can get it dirt cheap and it doesn't have 195,000 miles or more on it, go ahead. It could be an okay knock-around car. Never poo-poo a knock-around car if you can get it cheap enough. You get a car for $1,000, $1,500 and it's 16 years old and it runs and it lasts a while. Okay, it's okay, But if you want something that's reliable, you can have it for years. Stick to Toyota and Honda. Don't mess around with those. Or later model Mazdas, the ones when they had a relationship with Toyota, are much better than the old ones. So I wouldn't buy that unless I said it was $500, $1,000, and it ran okay. What the heck? It could be a good stopgap vehicle. But you're not going to get something like that and have it last you for years and hundreds of thousands of miles. They don't. T-Schlag 0003 says, Scotty, I got a 68 Thunderbird. Been sitting a long time. The engine looks great. It had training problems while it was parked. The engine is stuck. What could cause it to stick other than being seized because of the piston or valve train? Well, if an engine's stuck and it won't spin, and it wasn't that way before, odds are the piston rings have seized in their place. Here's a trick that I've done for years, and sometimes it works quite well. Take all the spark plugs out, get a bottle of Marvel Mystery Oil, right? Pour it in all the cylinders, let it sit for a couple of days. That can soak all around the piston rings and free them up. It's an amazing free-up oil. Then, with the spark plug still out, get a giant extension bar with a socket that fits on the end of your crank with a fan belt sign on the bottom, my crankshaft. Start trying to turn it over, and if you can, great. Now, it's an automatic transmission. If it was a standard transmission, what you could do would be you could put it in like third or fourth gear, and you could put a tire behind it and then push it with another car or truck, and that might break it loose. But it's an automatic, so you can't do that. So you're going to have to try to do it by hand and go back and forth, back and forth. And if you finally break it loose and you get it spinning around a few times to blow the oil out, then put the spark plugs in and pray the thing will start. Because if you can't get it to turn over, don't waste any time, because you'd have to take the whole engine apart then to fix it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.